Hello and welcome to the iCreateDaily podcast. I'm Leora Alderson.
And I'm Devani Alderson. We are the mother-daughter co-founders of the iCreateDaily brand.
We are passionate about encouraging positivity, creativity, and productivity while bringing you information and resources that support your creative aspirations.
iCreateDaily is for creators in every genre of creating, from musicians to writers, crafters to inventors, bloggers to entrepreneurs. So if you are into creating anything, this podcast has something for you.
So tell us, what would support you most in your journey? You can reach us at creators@iCreateDaily.com.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Hello and welcome to the iCreateDaily podcast, a movement for creators serious about their work. I'm Leora.
And I'm Devani, and our guest today is one of our favorite artists and someone we've been following for several years now, Eeva Nikunen, who we've also interviewed once before on the podcast. And Eeva is an artist and illustrator born and living in the south of Finland, and much of her work is inspired by the stories and imagery of Finnish and Russian folktales, as well as the timeless heroes and heroines found in classic literature. With an emphasis on detail and the use of intricate brushwork, Eeva's oil paintings are reminiscent of classic fairy tale illustrations where human and animal creatures alike possess a magical and dreamlike quality. Eeva completed her Bachelor of Arts degree with an emphasis on design studies at the Institute of Design in Vanta, Finland, and her
art and design
in Vanta, Finland. Her work has been exhibited at art festivals and conventions around Finland and at the Haven Gallery in New York City. And Eeva's work has also appeared in publications such as the Imagine FX magazine. And you can scroll through her incredible artwork on her website. It's eevanikunen.com. That's EevaNikunen.com. And Eeva is also the author of two fabulous publications, Enchanted Valley, a creative journal, and Elven Kingdom, an adult coloring book. So welcome, Eeva.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the lovely introduction.
You're welcome. So good to have you back and catch up. It's been way too long since we've had a chance to hear all that you're up to. We know that we kind of lost our regular communications back when you were working so hard on your creativity journal, while also keeping up, which is just exquisite, while also keeping up with your, commission clients and your other regular work and your community and posting and sharing and videos and all of that. So catch us. And also you've been to New York City for an exhibition at the Haven Gallery, Art Gallery. So wherever you would like to start over what you've been doing the last approximately year, just start with sharing what you've been up to and how that's going.
Yeah, it's been kind of like a whirlwind for the past year. About a year ago, I published the first creativity journal that I worked on it for about, I think, over 6 months. I did illustrations for the book, and that took most of the first part of last year. And then I had a lot of things to do with just promoting the book and doing a pre-order campaign on my website so people could order the book, and everything that goes with printing. And also when people had ordered the book, then I had to send it to everyone. So shipping and everything takes a lot of time when you're doing everything just by yourself. So, but it was a great experience. It was my first time doing a book in that scale. I had done a coloring book about maybe three or 4 years ago. And that was my first experiment with doing like crowdfunding. And last year, the Creativity Journal was my second big project like that, like a product, like an actual book that I did. So, and almost right after that, I got contacted by a gallery in New York. That was the Haven Gallery. And they asked me to take part in a group show because they do like themed group shows at the gallery. And it was a a show based on like royalty, like in history, like women in royalty. Or I could also do like a mythical queen or something like from mythology. So I took part in that exhibition. That was I think it was in August or September last year. And after the group show, the gallery actually contacted me again to ask if I wanted to do a solo show.
Wow.
Yeah. So that kind of so that was an amazing opportunity. So I took it, although I had only about like 4 months to work on the exhibition, which was kind of crazy because the opening was on 26th of January this year. So
Wow.
yeah. And
so during a busy season anyway, with the holidays and all, but at least it was the time where it was the long nights in Finland, so you had lots of time to be indoors working. It's not like you were missing it in summer, working fastidiously inside.
Yeah.
So when it was the group exhibit, did you ship your work and you stayed in Finland, and then when it was your solo show, you traveled to New York? Is that how that worked?
Yeah. So for the group show, because everyone just it's about I think 20 artists or something. Everyone does one painting for the show, and that's the group show. Yeah. So I just shipped one painting, and then it wouldn't really make sense to travel all the way to New York just for one painting, although it would be a lot of fun. Yeah, right. You have to think about the plane ticket prices and everything. So, but when I had the solo show, I think it made sense for me because it was more for me about meeting all the people and kind of going there to experience the thing, because it was such an awesome opportunity to have a solo show, and especially in New York. So I was just oh, I have to go. So and I think that was the right decision, because the best thing I think that I took from the whole experience was just meeting a lot of new people, and also got to meet some people that I only knew through the internet. So just being friends for many years through internet, and then just meeting them in person finally. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice. That's awesome. How many paintings did you do for the solo show? And how many were already painted in your collection versus how many you had to prepare in that 4-month window?
Well, that's the thing, because you have to do it's all new work, so you can't have paintings that you've done previously. So it has to be all new work. And I did 13 paintings in total.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And your paintings are not a walk in the park, sit for 2 hours and bam, you're done.
Intricate.
Very intricate.
Yeah, because I've been I was used to doing, because I work in oil, so I was used to doing working on one painting for 2 months, because that's just how long it takes me to do a painting. Of course, I'm painting working on several paintings simultaneously, but still it was kind of crazy, the 13 paintings. So but I just knew that I had the deadline, so I had to make it work somehow. So
well, and you did. And did you, so what have you discovered since, relative to that intense schedule? How has it affected your productivity now?
Well, I definitely, I think I got a bit faster towards the end of the deadline, because the deadline was coming, and I knew that I just had to have the painting. So because usually for a solo show, well, for this gallery, I don't know about other galleries, but it was 12 to 15 paintings was the number that you should have, so you can feel the room. So I had that number in my head the whole time I was working, and just trying to make it work. And in the end, I had to make some compromises. Like I had planned some paintings, but I just knew that I wouldn't be able to finish them in time. So I just had to maybe do a bit like smaller scale paintings. So just to have the number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you have a theme for that show?
Yeah, it was kind of like a loose theme. It was more of like an enchanted forest type thing. There was like some kind of like magical human creatures, and I did a lot of animals and birds and stuff. So
nice. So you did this in 4 months because you take opportunities, that are just great for your art. How long would you have liked to have to do all of that?
Well, the ideal thing, I think about maybe at least half a year, like 6 months.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
4.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Because that includes you had to get it finish the art and then also get them framed, right? Which that takes as well. And then you had to ship it.
Yeah, that was like, I was, there were some moments of despair, like just a few weeks before the opening, just because of the shipping. So I think next time, if I get a chance to do it next time, it's have at least like a month to figure out shipping, because especially if you're shipping international.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I had I was working with UPS to ship all my paintings. So I live in Finland, so all the way from Europe to New York, I had to ship 13 paintings, and I only had like 2 weeks to figure out the whole thing.
Yes.
Because I had to frame, like, especially with oil paintings, you also have to think about like the drying time and everything. So you can't just finish something and then it's not going to be dry the next day to take it to the framers and stuff. So that always like complicates things a bit. But I had like the first paintings that I shipped through UPS, they got stuck for like in Finnish customs, because it was actually not my fault, because I got like wrong information from the UPS customer service about how to fill in, because I have to do all the customs forms and everything. So yeah, it was a nightmare because, and then I tried calling them, and of course they don't have any local customer service. So I was in the phone with some people somewhere. Like it was a nightmare, to be honest.
I can imagine. And you had to handle that all by yourself. How did it resolve? Did you finally get through to some people who could help you?
Yeah, because it was the first shipment that I did, which went wrong because I did the customs forms incorrectly. So I first was, and it was the worst thing, because it was the weekend. It was like Friday, and I knew, like, I got in contact with like the international customer service, just trying to explain like where am I, like where's the package, like how can I get it back, or like what's gonna happen, and they couldn't really help me because they were like somewhere else. So I don't know if they even knew like where Finland is. So yeah, it was kind of terrible. So I was waiting until Monday to hear from anyone. So then finally, like on Monday, I think it was, someone called from the local customs like place here in Finland. It was like someone who actually worked at the warehouse where the box was, like in some container somewhere.
Yeah. Somebody who knows that Finland is here.
yeah. So like because I was able to talk with her, and she was like, what does the box look like, and where is it? Like I can go and find it, and and she found it, thank God. And like after that, like with the next boxes, I was able to do everything correctly because now I had the right information. But just like knowing that everything like that can happen. So especially if you're doing it for the first time, like 2 weeks, it's not enough to figure out shipping. So at least 4 weeks. So that's what I'm gonna do next month.
Yeah, wow, that makes sense. And of course it'll be smoother because, you know, the first time around anything is harder, and you can apply what you've learned. And, you know, gosh, it just costs hundreds of dollars to ship. It costs hundreds, probably thousands to frame those paintings. So you had an awful lot of out-of-pocket investment, you know.
In a very pressured 4-month
in a very
time
pressured,
frame.
And I mean, I think I would have been tempted to think that surely I have something I've already created that the world hasn't seen yet, and I would use that. But, you know, did you consider that? Would that be fair? Because if it's not something you did within the 4 months, but it's something that basically you haven't shared publicly, would that suffice?
Yeah, I think that could work if you have some work that you've been working on but haven't really shared with anyone. Because I think with galleries, it's like because they have their own collector base, and with my experience with working with this gallery, it's kind of like they want their collectors to have the first opportunity to look at the art.
Makes sense.
So so that's why you can't really share. You can share like work in progress or sketches or stuff like that, but I couldn't share any finished work before, only after the opening night. So everyone, because most of the sales are like pre-sales before even the art is in the gallery. So
oh wow.
So speaking of that, so did you how many of the 13 did you sell?
I sold, so I think I had 3 or 4 that are not sold. So most of them sold, which is good.
Yeah. And did you leave the ones that didn't sell? Did you ship them back home, or did you leave them with the gallery?
The gallery is going to keep them for 6 months. Nice. Because they have other space, because it's like this gallery, they have like they have the ground floor and then the upper floor, and on the upper floor they have like more exhibitions and art from previous exhibitions that people can still see and buy if they want. So they're going to keep it for 6 months, and if it doesn't sell, they're just ship it back to me.
So this gallery, the Haven Gallery in New York City, they contacted you for showing your work, and have you like reached out to any other galleries, whether it's US or in Finland, for showings? And how does that kind of work? Like, how would other artists go about getting their work exhibited in galleries? Do you have any advice around that?
Well, I think if you want to exhibit in galleries, I think the most important thing is to look at the gallery, like what kind of art do they sell and display at the gallery, because they're like, especially like in the US, because like you have so much stuff over there, so you have many different kinds of galleries. Some sell like abstract art, and in this case the Haven Gallery, it's more like the imaginative kind of like surreal fantasy stuff. So that was kind of like perfect for my work, because that's kind of like what I do. Mm-hmm. So if you see a gallery that you think that your work might fit into, I think you can just email them and send them maybe a link to your online portfolio. And I'm sure that they'll at least look at it and maybe save it for later, even if they don't have space, like maybe at the moment. So,
and based on your experience, even though it was international shipping is a lot harder, it makes sense, and we have a number of artists who do this, for the artist to start locally with all the local area galleries first, I would think, as well as art stores, and like, you know, the kind, like we have a craftsman guild in our city, and that represents the region, and they have a beautiful store downtown that has all kinds of arts, you know, from blown glass to pottery to paintings and all of that. So that would be another place and another avenue for people to potentially get their work sold if they have anything like that locally first. And then from there, spread out to the next closest, because if it's within driving distance, you can always drive it. You know, you can load it up and take it yourself even. Hopefully then you meet the people there. So yeah, but that's a good idea. Like we have Linda Suzanne Wright, and Lynn Hunley, and who else exhibits in galleries right now, as well as Joanna White has her silk paintings in Craftsmen's Guilds. So yeah, and a lot of that is within the region. So yeah, you definitely took on a lot. Congratulations for that huge accomplishment.
Right off the bat of launching your creativity journal, because it was like
right
journal right to let's do this other math, because both were massive projects. I think
no rest for you.
I think you did like 50 new pieces for the journal, right? Something like
yeah, the journal, it has like over 50 drawings that I did. So it has a lot of drawings.
And people need to get your journal, and at the very least look at it online, because the thing about
and actually have some exciting news about the journal. It's actually at the moment, like right now, it's actually sold out because I haven't ordered more of it. So, but I'm actually working with a publisher in the US that wants to publish the journal.
Hey, that's fantastic.
That's amazing.
So like in the future, like especially for like US customers, and most of my orders come from the US anyway, so it is great because then they don't have to worry about, because the shipping is always like
they're expensive.
The shipping costs a lot of money. So in the future, the book will be available in the US. So
that'll be amazing. We'll have to keep us posted on that.
Yeah. So more info coming soon.
Yeah, we'll definitely update that, and with the Amazon link as well because I presume they'll be selling it on Amazon and where books are sold. Hopefully, even like the Barnes and Noble bookstore.
That'd be amazing to walk into a local Barnes and Noble and see one of your books and be like, we know her. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah.
So which can you reveal the publisher? Is it too soon?
Well, maybe do that later, because I haven't we don't have any
signed contract yet.
It's kind of like it's done, but it's still kind of like how are we going to do the promoting and everything. So maybe I'll just post it later.
Sounds good. Well, and then you can share like anything you want to share now, and then again later on your experience. Like, did you contact the publisher? Did they contact you?
Actually, it's a person I met in the US. So I've met this person, well, I can just
don't. It's okay. It's okay. I don't want to jeopardize anything. You can tell us later. I just wanted if anyone's interested in general. Again, it was about relationships, someone you met by putting yourself and your work out there. So speaking of that, and before we move on from the Haven Gallery experience, did you acquire any commission clients, or did that lead to any additional work for you?
Actually, after the show, I got some more people contacting me about like personal commission painting and stuff. So it leads to those things as well. And one of the good things was that I got a lot more like social media presence with the show, because the gallery has a big Instagram account. So when they were like sharing my work, I got a lot of new people following my Instagram as well. So that was also nice.
Yeah, very nice. Well, so that's wonderful hearing about that. And if you could share any other things that you're doing or planning this year, like you're going to any other conferences or conventions. Yeah.
I have a few conventions. I'm actually there are like two conventions that are worth doing, like locally here where I live. So I'm doing those. Those are in July and September. And it's not confirmed yet, but I'm trying. In August, there's a big. It's actually a US convention called WorldCon, which is in Dublin this year in Ireland.
Oh, nice.
WorldCon.
Worldcon. It's actually, it's like, I think the longest running sci-fi and fantasy convention ever. Like it's been running like for 70 years or something.
Whoa.
So yeah, and it's usually in the US, but sometimes they have it like in different countries as well. So this year it's in Dublin.
Nice. So
I'm trying to, yeah, they have a big art show, so I'm hoping to be a part of that, but that's not confirmed yet because I don't have any plane tickets yet or anything, so we'll see.
Okay. When is that?
That's in August.
Okay.
August, something like 14th, 15th of August, somewhere around there. Yeah.
So remind us how long you've been doing full-time, being a full-time artist now on your own.
This fall it will be 5 years.
Okay,
Nice.
that's what I was thinking, 5 years. So in that, and we talked just a little bit before we started recording, and that is that it almost always, everything that we're trying to do basically takes longer than we hoped or imagined it might take, you know, to get to, especially when you're solo entrepreneur, solo artist entrepreneur, doing everything, as you said. Now, the benefit of doing everything is that you learn the process so that when you're able and ready to pass it on to assistants, and whether it's freelancers or employees, anything that you can, you know what's involved, and you can guide them appropriately. You have a chance to create the systems, or how it is like shipping, you know, internationally, for instance, to create and to know and pass that along. The other advantages, I would think, for, you know, for those of us who sit and work all the time, you know, just by nature of our work. For us, it's writing. For you, it's drawing, painting. You know, it's nice. The nice thing about having to wear the many different hats is at least it has us getting up and doing other things. Sometimes, you know, I know some of it's still at the computer, like in social media, but at least it's a different kind of thing. It engages a different part of the brain, and it keeps us active, you know, on different fronts. But all the things, so of all the things you've done for your business growth over the past 5 years, what things could you recommend to other artists, or at least that you have found to be the most productive for you in growing your business as well as your revenue?
Well, I think the most important thing that I've learned from doing this for 5 years is that, like at least for me, like you kind of know what you want to do, but you kind of end up doing a lot of different things before you figure out what it is that you actually need to focus on. And I'm kind of like, I don't even feel that I'm there yet. So I'm just kind of, I have an idea of like what my art is about, but it's like something that I think about all the time and try to kind of like, because I look at like the most successful artists that I see online. Most of them are like, it's like very specific what they're doing for a very specific audience. So that's kind of something that I'm working on. I think that's kind of like the branding side also. It's about the art, but it's also about the branding, kind of figuring out, like trying to make it as like understandable for people who see it, you know, like when you see it online, you kind of instantly understand what it's about. That's kind of the thing that I think about all the time. So
that makes sense. And yet, in particular, I think for artists, I would think that could be challenging for many artists, because almost like by nature of being an artist, I have interests in many things, and not just one thing in one category, but what you're sharing is very important for growing the business at the inception stage and you know, establishment phase of growing a business. So that makes sense, because it's like you are beginning to sort of stake your claim of, this is who I am, this is what I represent, and it doesn't mean
This
that
is my brand.
and in fact, from there, so many would recommend that from there is where you branch out. So once you're established and recognized and you've grown your audience around the thing, and I would think one of the ways to look at that, let's say in the beginning you're not sure, like you have done, you do some of the sort of the elven kind of characters, but then you also do the Victorian. Sometimes you blend them, and then you also have a magical fantasy worlds and creatures. You do a fantastic job with animals as well as terrain. So you create worlds, and there's so many beautiful things that you do. But I would think that even in the beginning, if you feel like it's not uniform enough, that the advantage is that it helps you see what things people respond most to. Because, in order to establish yourself in your career, if of all the things that you're doing, I mean, obviously you're doing them because you enjoy those things. And while you may not want to do only animals, for instance, or only elves, for instance, or only Victorian ladies, if you find that those sell most, then it would make sense to go with that until you've created the freedom for yourself to branch into more avenues from that. So along those lines, since you have put different things out there, have you identified any area of your work that seems to be the most popular, like the things that sold at the Haven Gallery, for instance?
Definitely the animals, like especially if people want to buy like original paintings. I think animals sell quite well. Like those have been good, but I haven't really seen a difference between like the human characters I paint, because those sold quite well at the gallery as well. So I think I'm comfortable with doing both, and I think that they're kind of like from the same world. Like even like the animals I paint, I try to have them be like a little bit like magical creatures as well. So I think they're all from the same world. What I have planned for this year is actually I want to do another coloring book. And I'm actually looking at, because I'm just I'm so busy at the moment, because I have like commissions that I'm a bit like I'm even a bit late with some commissions, because I just had too much work, like with the gallery show and everything. So I'm just trying to catch up with everything. But what I'm looking at right now is doing just like digital coloring books that people can download.
Nice.
Because those seem to be quite popular. I started a Patreon last year, so it's been like steadily growing slowly. But actually what I'm doing there is also I'm doing like custom coloring pages for people on my Patreon, and that's been quite popular. And I like doing the drawings, and people can kind of vote for their favorite theme for the month and stuff like that. So that's something that I'm trying also. And my goal is to have more like digital coloring books that people can download from my website or Etsy or someplace. So that's kind of like a side project that I have at the moment to have those up. Hopefully, first one this summer, but we'll see. Yeah,
that's perfect. I love that, because that will several reasons. One is the coloring book doesn't require as much work from you, because you don't have to also add the color yourself, except to maybe the cover as examples. And then the other is that it gives you a chance to see which is most popular before you decide which one to print.
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah. And then also I don't have to ship anything if it's digital.
Right. Yeah.
So you mentioned you started doing Patreon last year, right? How is that going? It's been good. I just actually I just put it up, not like expecting anything, just because people were saying like just have it up, and like it doesn't matter, maybe you make like $1, that's like $1 more than no dollar. So it's like and it's been fun. I think my experience with that is just to, if you want to start it and make it like so it's not like really hard work, like it's not a lot of extra work. So what I've been doing is just I've been posting more on my Patreon, like more works in progress or like secret sketchbook pages and stuff like that I don't share anywhere else. Then I just share more of the finished work and stuff on social media. So kind of like if people want to
be a member on Patreon, they get like extra content.
Mm-hmm.
But especially if you have a small Patreon, don't make it too much work for yourself, because that can be pretty stressful with everything else that you're trying to build like build a Patreon and stuff. So just have it there, and yeah, I really like appreciate the people who are there. Like it's amazing that someone pays for it. But it's I think it's good if you want to do it, but just don't make it too hard on yourself, because you have so much other stuff to do as well. So just try to figure out how to make it fun for the people who are there, because it's like a little community, so it has to be like fun for everyone. So
right,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Definitely. Would you recommend for artists to reach like a certain social following on one of their other social platforms before launching their Patreon? I know you I think you have like 4,000, 5,000, I don't remember, but you have a lot. You have a very steadily growing Instagram account, and you started your Patreon when you had a pretty decent flow from your other social platforms, and so it's probably a better idea to start it like after you can say, hey guys, on my Instagram I'm gonna post exclusive stuff here now.
Yeah, I don't know. Of course, if you have a huge social media following, you will have like more people on your Patreon. That's just the way it goes. But I think, like, I don't have a huge following. I have like 5,000 on my Instagram, and it's been growing, which is good. Like, I'm hoping to. I think, like, the first like 10,000, I understand it's like the hardest to get the first 10,000. Like, I've been following other artists, like when they hit that 10,000, it just starts growing from there. So hopefully for me as well at some point. But I don't think you have to have a huge following. Just if you feel like starting it, just start it. But it's like, my advice is that don't follow the number count, like how many patrons you have, because especially if you get like if it hurts when you see like people unfollow you on the social media, it hurts when people unfollow you on Patreon. So just what I'm doing, like, I used to care more about that. I don't care about that so much anymore. Like on social media, like if people want to follow me, they follow me. If they don't have to. That's fine. Like I don't mean that, but like just I don't follow the number of people I have on Patreon. I just do it and just keep doing it, and it will like grow slowly. Like the same thing, like as your social media following grows. Yeah. Don't pay attention to the numbers. Just do what you're doing and do the best you can, and people will enjoy it if you're doing good work. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And we've talked with you as well about the concept of, as well as other creators in our community, about the concept of, spend more time focusing on building your own platform rather than somebody else's. So build your own website, build your own social page followings, but in particular your website, because that is the one property essentially that, that
you have control.
It's like the core of your presence online is your site, and then the raise out from that are all your own social pages, so your Instagram, your Facebook, Twitter if you have it, LinkedIn if you have it, and then from there what radiates from those spheres would be things like the Patreon. I mean, for some, Patreon is doing really well. For some artists, they may not want to create their own website if they don't already have it, but they might have a social following, in which case the Patreon could become their website in a way, away from, besides their own website, that could become their home there. So I think it just kind of depends on the person and what other resources they have going for them already.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to have your own website. I heard somewhere I did like an online course on like art marketing. I think they said that your own website is the most important place on the internet.
We certainly agree with that, because number of websites, and and yes, it takes time, over time, to grow those and to grow the following and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's your core. It is your home base, definitely. So moving on then, of all the things that you do that you would recommend to a new artist or someone aspiring to be full-time, you still take commissions. Is that like one of your most lucrative monetization strategies right now? Is it your books? Is it your prints? Because I know you have a store on Etsy. You have also postcards and cards, and you do shows and you sell things there. So I know that we artists don't tend to be that great with numbers. not always. I shouldn't categorize that as a stereotype, but some of us don't pay a lot of attention to the numbers.
Some of us are okay being less number oriented, you know?
Right. So, just on average, do you have a sense of which things that of all the many things you do, which the top 1, 2, or 3 things that produce the most revenue for you?
Yeah, I think I sell original work, so that's a huge part. I sell the paintings, and I also sell like drawings online and stuff. So that's a huge part. And I also, of course, the income from the book, and now that I have the potential publisher for the book, so income from that's a huge thing. And I think it's important to have many different
revenue
streams,
yeah.
Because you can never, because I actually never really intended to be like a gallery artist. So that's like just something that kind of like happened, that I started selling more original work. So, but I want to, the part of my business that I want to grow is to do like more products, because I really enjoy that part. I'm nice. Like, I enjoy the artist part, but I'm also like, I think of myself more as like an illustrator, because I do like kind of like the imaginative fantasy stuff. So that's a lot of that is also like illustration. So, but I was never really interested in doing like book covers or anything like that. So what I'm passionate about is to do my own products, like the coloring books that I was talking about. And so that's a place that I want to grow even more.
Yeah, there you go. So that makes a lot of sense, and you've arrived at that by experiencing that, and it makes like you have graphic design training, so it's such a perfect fit for you, because you're able to create your own books from beginning to end, every step along the way, except the finished manuscript that you send off to, or journal, that whatever that you send off to the printer, everything prior to that has been yours, and your design, and your putting it together and everything. So
you create it, and unlike the prints, you create a book that other people can experience too, like themselves. And so you've created a product once, and you can just keep selling it and move on to the next product and keep selling it. And you've included it's like you're the artist, but then you've included the purchaser in the experience, because now they can use it to color or to journal in or whatever. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things to sell is actually prints. Prints sell very well at conventions, but online I think it's very hard. I think the people who sell a lot of prints, they have like huge followings. So, or maybe now and then you might do a piece that's very popular, and those prints sell really well, but the others that you have like don't really sell. So, but I think that's kind of normal with a lot of artists, that like prints are very hard to sell actually online.
It makes sense.
For some people it works really well, but like for me it's not like a big thing that I do to sell prints. I sell prints really well when I'm like person to person at a convention. They just see all the prints on the table and they just decide what they want to buy. But online I find it a bit difficult, but yeah, hopefully that will grow as well. So we'll
I wonder
see.
if it's just because of the proliferation of like stock imagery and stuff that a lot of people can just download or whatever on the internet.
Yeah, and they also have to have like a space on their wall. Like most people prefer to buy original art if they want to put it on their wall, so they just don't want the prints. They just want the original. So
that's a good point.
That's the thing.
Sorry. Yeah, that makes sense. So do you sell a lot of cards and postcards?
Those are actually things that I sell at conventions, the postcards and stuff. At the moment, I'm not selling any postcards online, so yeah.
Did you end up doing a deck of cards?
No, I haven't done. I was a part of a project that was like a collaboration with other artists. We did like a card deck, and that was actually a Kickstarter campaign that was last year, and the deck, it's almost done. Like, we're just waiting for it to ship to everyone. So, but I haven't done like my own card deck or anything.
So when you do a collaborative project like that, is that a profit share, or is that just for exposure to your brand?
That was more of exposure because, yeah, I'm part of like a artist collective, and we did like this collaboration. So we did a card deck, and everyone did 2 cards. So that was just mostly like there wasn't really any, like, even though the campaign did really well, but like so many artists, there's like not so much profit in it. So
right.
But it's just really a lot of fun to have the finished deck with everyone's art. So
yeah,
that's
definitely.
Cool.
Yeah. And you can. So really, those kinds of things are win-wins. We've talked about doing that, and that's one of our future goals for iCreateDaily, is to be more of a resource like that for creators to collaborate and help them get their products out there. And we've talked about and wondered how a lot of those things work, because as you know, doing everything as the artist entrepreneur, there's tremendous costs in the management, the creation, the printing, the what do you call, the coordination, the orchestration, the administration, all of the marketing, all of that takes a tremendous amount of time, energy, and resources. So really there isn't, especially when you have so many artists collaborating, and there are a lot of anthologies when it comes to writers like that as well, where, you know, having the name in the book or having the name in the card deck and the project is itself its own like business card that you've contributed to. So you've contributed to it. It has your name on it. You can say that you're part of a published anthology book, or, you know, in this case, a card deck. So it contributes to the artist's marketing. But it makes sense that there really wouldn't be the revenue to share other than to the original creators of it. Yeah. So it's a win. I guess in that case, the bottom line is it's a win-win, because it's still kind of like a marketing tool. For the artist, it's like a marketing tool for exposure.
What other type, do you have any, I know you really enjoy doing the coloring books and creative journals, and that you enjoy the product creation aspect. Do you have plans for other types of products, like beyond books, or is it mostly the books right now?
Yeah, I love doing the books, but something that I'm actually, I want to do more of is like it's kind of like something different, but I actually really love like pattern designs. So I'm kind of like trying to figure out how to create some kind of like patterns that would be from the same world as my paintings. So it's kind of like maybe some characters. I just really love those kind of like just like print designs, or like for example, like those like Victorian wallpaper designs that have like all these characters and everything in them. I just really love that kind of stuff. So I was thinking more, maybe that's something that I could do for maybe like Redbubble or Society6, because they print the products that you could do like bags, and I have some designs there, but they're just like, I put my painting on a bag, so that's like the first step. But what I would like to do is maybe take that a bit further to create like more interesting products. So that's something that I've been thinking about, but that's also like a side project. I have to get everything like what I have lined up done before I can do that, but that's something that I'm interested in.
Yeah, but it makes so much sense that, I mean, that's the thing, and we've talked about this together as well over the years, and that is leverage. You know, the artist that's creating, you know, whether if at the present, if you're trading hours for dollars kinds of things, by commission work, by, you know, even the exhibits where you may or may not sell something, you have to also, it really is multiple income streams, but the more you can create things one time and proliferate that into many different things, many different products and avenues of commerce, then the better for you. So that, and it takes time, but I could imagine at some point putting those different designs, like when you get a print design that you want to put onto bags, whatever, that would be something you could outsource in time to a freelancer who could upload it and put it all and do all the machinations needed to get the listing at the individual stores and what have you. One of the things that we haven't, that we're interested in just finding are really successful Etsy sellers, and in particular, those who've done so for instance, if you put something on Etsy, it's like anything else. If you put it there and don't do anything marketing it yourself, it just sits there.
Right.
And so it's like, what kind of marketing is successful on Etsy? Like, what are the successful sellers on Etsy doing to market their store? Have you heard anything on that?
Well, that's actually something that I should look more into. I have an Etsy shop, but I haven't really. I've done like Etsy promotions. So you can do like paid promotions on Etsy. I did that for my journal, so those led into some sales. So it just I think when people search, you can put search words in Etsy, and then if you pay, it kind of like puts your content or your product like on the first page, like when you search something or something like that. So
I thought it would be a lot like an Amazon marketplace, but more for the crafts type crowd, where like a lot of artsy type people would probably use that as like, this is where I do my shopping for things.
Yeah.
And then they're advertising.
Yeah, I would think a lot of because a lot of crafts people and crafters and artists put things on there not familiar with the advertising concept, that if you were to be one of those who would take advantage of that, it would help you perhaps leap ahead, because I think it also goes out in their email marketing. I've seen like emails where they'll talk, like have a feature creator or whatever in the emails that go out for Etsy and Redbubble as well. But like you were saying, all that takes time. It's one more thing to do. So for now, side gig, but it's always there to work a little bit more when it is you have the time or inclination to do it. So so shall we go on to pricing? Yes.
So many creatives struggle with pricing their work and figuring out like where do they even start, especially new artists. And we've had several people in our group recently comment like, where do I start? I'm new, I don't know how to price my work. Do I price my canvas or whatever work I'm doing by time? Do I price it by material? Both? Where do I start with that? So knowing that there's a big range of products and types of art and levels of skill in being an artist, where would you recommend, how do you approach pricing, and where would you recommend beginners start with pricing?
I think it's kind of like personal for every artist. It kind of starts differently depending on maybe like what medium you're working in or how big the art is, but I think the important thing is to kind of like start as low as possible, but not like you're not too low that you feel like you're giving away your art. I think that's too low. You still need to get like paid for your work, but especially in the beginning, you kind of have to do more work than you get paid for.
Right.
So I wouldn't. Are we talking about like original, like selling original art, or like doing illustration commissions? Because that's also a bit different.
Right. So we've had several questions. Maybe if we approach it by the type. So.
Well, original art. And some of it's been watercolor, and some of it's been oil or acrylics. Right. Some of it even been like a mural. So
it's a range.
But I think the majority average of most people's interest would be original work of paintings on canvas.
Okay. Well, I think I wouldn't price it by the time it takes you to do the piece, because that's very hard. So what I would do is maybe look at other people online that you feel like are kind of at the same stage as you are. If you're just starting, maybe look at other people who are just starting and see like how they price their art. Because especially original art, it kind of like, it sells for like what people want to pay for it.
Yeah.
That's kind of just how it goes. Even though it might be like worth so much more, but in the beginning, it's just like you can't just start with like very high prices, because it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Yeah, but it will take some time, and you can slowly raise your prices. But I think the most important thing is to be consistent, because you can never lower your prices once they're up. So always maybe sell it for a little bit lower, and then the next piece you sell a bit higher, and then a bit higher. So because if your prices jump up very fast, you can't take them down, you know?
And the reason, like in most commerce, they have sales and things get marked down. So is it different than with art?
Yeah, I think it's a bit different. I wouldn't sell, like if you have like older, like I've been thinking about like my own work. Like if I have older paintings that haven't sold, I wouldn't like sell them at like discounted prices or anything. They're just maybe I just don't sell them, or maybe in a future exhibition or someplace, if they fit like that, the theme or something, maybe I could take them. But maybe they're like at that stage, they're like so old that they don't really represent me as an artist anymore. So I just keep them myself. So yeah, I wouldn't do like discounts and stuff with, especially like if you have like original paintings and things. So because like imagine like if like I actually recently just bought a very small painting from an artist that I love. It was like it was actually a birthday present for myself, because I saw so much original art when I visited New York, and I actually got to visit some friends who are like art collectors, and they have like so much beautiful original art in their houses. So I was so inspired. So I just wanted to have something like for myself, and I saw an opportunity to buy a small piece from an artist that I really like. So imagine like I paid a certain amount for the painting, and imagine if I saw like him selling that same size paintings like for half the price like 1 month later. Like I would feel like ripped off because I paid the amount. Like, so just think about like how the person feels like who actually buys your art. So I think that's very important. So you can't lower the prices. So I think start lower and then slowly build your way up.
So because we're talking about things that grow in value and things that can be collector items, so that makes sense if that would be different than the typical retail kind of product.
And we're assuming that as your skill level, like month on month, year on year, new canvas is growing and building at the same time. In which case,
so along those lines, then your old work, in fact, as we know from the great artists of our, the ages, has grown to become increasingly more valuable. The more successful the artist becomes, the more well known. So that makes sense. That's cool. That's good to know. So do you have any other things to share that you think that would be helpful for artists? So you said not to price by your time. Like some artists say that they do it by size of canvas, like per square inch of canvas. Is that something you've ever done?
Yeah, that's kind of like what I do. I have like a square inch price for my oil paintings. So I kind of like price them by size. So I think that's a good way. I've heard also, especially for oil paintings, I've heard like if it's, but this is not maybe for like people who are just starting, but I've heard this like if it's like an 8 by 10 painting, just put like a zero at the end of the larger number, so that would be like 1,000 for an 8x10. So that's what I've heard from some artists. And also, the medium also affects the price of the work. So, for example, I also work in ink and graphite, so I have like a lower square inch price for the drawings than I do for my oil paintings, because I work on a drawing for maybe like a week, and for an oil painting, also the supplies cost a lot more for oil paintings and framing and everything. So, and the time. So.
And what about with commissions? Like, and let's just, for simplicity, maybe stick with like canvas commissioning, commissioned work by canvas. Is that a different? Do you structure and price that differently? I would suppose yes.
Not really. I actually price it the same if I did like a painting for a gallery. If someone wants to commission like the same size, that's the same price. So I don't have any difference between those.
Got it.
So, okay, yeah, I would have guessed that you would have charged more for commission work since you're doing custom as opposed to something that you originated and wanted to get out there, but that's not the case?
No, it's what I try to do with commissions is to have someone commission me for a painting that I would do anyway. So that's the ideal situation. It's not always like that. I do commissions that I like working on them, but maybe they're not exactly like my brand, so I don't share them anywhere. I just do them for the client. So just yeah.
So I know that we're keeping you well beyond the hour, and appreciate your sharing your time. I do want to ask you, like, I know you've done at least a little bit of commission work where you have sort of put the customer's face or persona into some of the kind of art that you do. So like, for instance, the beautiful lady that you have of many of them, but with the glowing light around them, and some of the paintings you have, I could imagine someone asking you and commissioning that they would like to commission you to create something like that for their loved one, like maybe a husband for his wife, or parents for their daughter, to put her face in that likeness. Have you had any of those kinds of requests?
Yeah, those are actually some of the commissions that I do are like that. They're kind of like fantasy portrait style. So
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, very nice. Because then, like you say, that keeps it in your genre, and you just have to give the face the nuance and the characteristic of that person. So, which I would think would be kind of fun then to do.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any other advice for artists, whether they're starting out or thinking about starting as a professional, and/or that they're already, well into it? Because, as you know, working around, associating with other artists, we learn from each other. So, really appreciate all that you've already shared.
Yes.
And if you have anything else to say before we let you go.
I think it's just try to enjoy what you're doing. I think especially when you try to do it as a career, you kind of you can lose joy at some points. So just try, because I think especially if you're an artist, the art is the most important thing. So I think the joy has to be seen in the art that you're making. Otherwise, what's the point of even doing it? So so I don't know if I gave very good advice about the pricing, but I think just if you keep doing it, if you really love it, of course you have to get paid for your work, but especially if you're starting, if you just love doing it, not getting paid as much as you deserve it at the beginning, I think will pay off if you just keep doing it, because your brand will grow and you will get paid more, and it just grows all the time. So so if you just love what you're doing, it can it gets you through the hard parts of especially the beginning and everything that comes with just working by yourself all the time. So just focus on the art, I think. supporting.
That makes a lot of sense. And one of the ways that artists can look at that, if it is that you're selling something for lower than you think it's worth or that you deserve for your efforts, is basically the difference in between is just marketing cost. Because like you said, you're getting the word out, you're selling something, and those people are going to tell somebody else about it, that can, and show somebody else about it. That can
and it's like the self-education tuition.
Yeah.
You're still getting paid.
Yeah.
You're still getting paid, even if it's in the beginning, it's not necessarily what you would like to see. Like, you're still learning, and that experience is worth a lot.
Yeah. You mentioned two things on your last comment that I would like to say two more things or ask two more things about if you have about 3 more minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. So you mentioned sometimes you have to remember to find the joy, and we're running a 30-day creators challenge, and our prompt today was about creating joy, basically. So, if you can't find the joy to create it, so what do you do to create the joy and find the joy when it is that you're not feeling joyful because of the crunch and the pressure of having to create?
Well, I think one of the most important things, especially what I learned last year when I was working so hard for the exhibition and everything, is just, even though we have so much to do, it's very important to have time off as well.
Yes.
Like, maybe just if you can take one day off and go do something that you enjoy, otherwise than art.
Yes.
Maybe what I like to do, I go to an art gallery to see other people's paintings, or a museum, or just a cafe or something like that. So that helps, or a walk outside helps a lot. So
yeah,
it's
totally.
very important. So yeah.
I think you were going to say that. In fact, you might hop over to England.
Yeah.
We've seen you, making a comment. I'm in England now.
Yeah. I was just a few weeks ago. It's my favorite city. London is my favorite city. So I have a friend who lives there, and I actually had it was just a small art exhibition. It was through a website called Hire an Illustrator that I'm a part of.
Nice.
They had a Jules Verne themed art show.
Ooh.
And I did just a small drawing for the art show. So I didn't send any original work. It was just a print of my drawing. So they had it displayed in a gallery there. So I was kind of going there for that, but also just to see my friend. So
wonderful.
That's
wonderful.
fun.
Yeah.
And then the last question, we talked with you about this a year or so ago, and I meant to follow up and see where you were with that, and that is teaching. There's so much and I think at the time we were talking with you about it, you weren't sure if it's something you would enjoy, though you did enjoy when it is you had taught, like you taught, for instance, a workshop at a convention. So have you thought any more about whether you have any interest in teaching?
Well, I haven't really had time in the past year to really think about that. Maybe I did a workshop in person at a convention. That was a lot of fun, but I'm not really a teacher personality. So something that I could do is do maybe some online tutorials or something.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's actually something that I'm thinking about maybe doing for Patreon or stuff. I could do Patreon. I've seen other artists do Patreon exclusive tutorials and stuff. So maybe for that it would be good.
Definitely. I would think so. And I agree with you and I should have clarified, I didn't mean so much classroom in front of thing, but you introduced us to Päivi Erola, who we have interviewed before as well. And she does very well with her online courses.
And lengthy blog posts and newsletters about technique and stuff.
Right.
Her blog is just it's cool because she comes from this engineering background, and now she's this fantastic artist, and then her blog posts are just super in depth.
Yes. And so one of the things that we've actually written about recently is that sometimes people will pay you more for your knowledge than for your art. Essentially. And so it's sort of so if you're going to do something and test it on Patreon, you might ask, again, poll your audience there as well as on your Facebook, what would you like to learn? the things that you seem to do. What is there anything that you would like to learn?
Yeah.
And you could start there and find out, make a list of the most common responses, because that is one thing that's why we started doing and continuing doing the art and creator challenges in iCreateDaily, because what we realized is creators just want to do more of their work.
Yeah.
They want to do more of their own art. They want to learn more how to do more of what they like to do and what they want to learn to do. And who better to learn from than someone who's so good at it and doing it, as opposed to just in a classroom. Not to say that obviously the classroom teachers are also knowledgeable, but again, this allows people to find the artists that they like, whose work they like, and to learn directly from them, like the olden days of apprenticeships, that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely something to consider that could definitely be more lucrative, and fill in the gaps and especially when you're not so crazy busy as you have been over the past year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing this time with us, Eeva, and all of your experience and all that you've done. We look forward to sharing it with our audience and also keeping track of all that you're doing next.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was so much fun.
Okay, and let us know when your book is out, and we'll definitely hear that as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much for joining us for the iCreateDaily podcast. Please let us know what creatives you would like us to interview and what topics you would be interested in hearing more about.
And if you enjoyed this show, please leave a review on iTunes. We value your feedback. We read all the reviews, and it just helps us get the word out on the iCreateDaily podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.